All right. Yep. So let's begin this. Let's begin this. And we're live. So I am joined today with HUMANE Mind. I'm on my second account because YouTube decided to cuck my main channel. So I'm just here until Susan Wojcicki resigns, basically. Today with
So
HUMANE
we're
Mind.
here to
I'm on my
kind of
second.
have a what the fuck? Yeah, I hear that. Okay. Yeah, no, oh, no worries. It's same. But basically, on this account, I had feedback. I heard my own planks. I'm like, oh, I forgot to stop that, so I did. But yeah, so last week, just before I got the strike, we were having a conversation about protectionism, and we got into the issue of freedom of speech. We've talked about freedom of speech on social media. We went into Marsh versus Alabama, and Shablinsky versus New Hampshire in the stream with JPM and Blue Republic. Um, yeah, that's where we were originally talking about protectionism the last time, and then on my main channel, and then we ended up here today to talk about freedom of speech. So, um, yeah, yeah, defamation. Yeah, it yeah. To be completely honest with the topic of slander and defamation, I always like had the simplistic definition like if I said something that was not true and it is something that would harm someone's character, I would have considered it slander. So if I said humane mind, he shoved his 12 gauge up of Coltaham's ass and pulled the trigger. Yeah, that might harm his reputation. That might cause some people to think, "Wow, what a twisted piece of shit." Um, we, that's terrible. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Or if I said that Dark Khan I don't know, he drops puppies in tar, that would harm his reputation probably for a very very long time. And it's not something that he would do, it's something that's not true. But if I said it like it's true, like my definition of slander would have been like if you're making a claim that is not true against someone and it could cause the damage to their reputation, it would be slander or libel or defamation or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So, so yeah, yeah, but so like what I'm getting at is it could be like sometimes those type of cases boil down to a like a he said she said. Yeah, yeah. I thought he was released. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was. I just looked it up. He was released in October of last year. Yeah, but I also I have a problem with like okay, a confession can be pretty good, it can be pretty damning, but at the same time, I don't. If I hope I'm remembering this right, but isn't a confession still not even enough? Like you can't prosecute just based off a confession. Yeah, like a preliminary hearing. Yeah, 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 yeah. There's pleading no contest. Like, there was actually a court case that made it legal for defendants to plead no contest. So you're, I guess there was a Supreme Court case in the 20s that basically that said if you accept a pardon, that's admitting guilt, and people argue if you plead no contest, that's admitting guilt. Uh, yeah, 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 I heard you almost say gentleman, and then you could say it with a straight face. But um, basically, yeah, I've heard of cases where they've tried murder cases and it was without a jury. I think the person chose. Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, yeah, I've heard of Tom Woods. Yeah, yeah. I guess I guess people would argue jury tampering or yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, Yeah. Late 80s at least. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. 7 to 10. Yeah. 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 Honestly, I mean, there's going to be a lot of debate about the stock market crash and the Great Recession. I think the Great Recession was from The official record said 2007 to 2010, but it really the stock market crash of 2006, and I think some people argued as early as 2005 is when the crack started to show. And I've seen a list of recessions that have happened in the history of the United States. According to what I found, there has not been one since the late 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. Which I hope we can go a long time without a recession, but I mean, who knows? But um, yeah, 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 like okay, some of the comments he makes, it's like out of context. It would sound really, really bad. Like, okay, when I first heard him say in July 2015, when it was like about Mexico, they're bringing their drugs, their crimes, their rapists. Out of context, I think Milner Man even said this, and he's a center left libertarian now. He's like, at the time, he's like, okay, I don't think he said that Mexicans are rapists. Like, they are rapists. He was saying that Mexico was bringing their rapists, not that all Mexicans were rapists. And I'm like, it does get into the semantics, but out of context, Donald Trump, I wouldn't even argue it was racist. I would argue it was a stupid comment because but Mexicans aren't a race. Mm, yeah, yeah. Although, yeah. But I would say though that it's like if I was Trump, if I was to go on that rant, I mean, I mean to be completely fair, hindsight is 2020, and I don't know if he had the foresight. I mean, if you're doing an off the cuff rant, you're not going to really proofread what you're saying in your head. But I would have said it entirely differently. Now, when he was making the comment about yeah, but people take a lot of shit people say out of context all the time. There was also the whole shithole countries comment. I initially was like, that okay, those countries are not in the best condition. I wouldn't have used the term shithole, obviously. Entirely. I mean, yeah. Although I did not approve, and I was like, okay, that made like the whole. Why aren't we taking people from Norway? I was like, okay, what do you what why would that matter? Like I would say that in like I'm not saying that automatically, just like like what is the intent of, what's the point of you saying that? If I was to say we should be bringing more people from I don't know um the United Kingdom versus South Africa, you know, it's like I like assumption that you're being racist, but I would say would I need to know the intent behind what you're saying before I make the call. I thought he said like, why aren't we? I don't remember entirely, but like generally, yeah. I mean, yeah, and it's like I don't know. It's just like one of the few things where it's like with Donald Trump, it's nice that to have someone say what they genuinely think, or at least that's what they claim to think. But at the same time, it is like you got to know the right time, the appropriate time and place. Like um, let's say someone died, right? And it's like you got to figure when it's appropriate to say it, or something like that. You know? Yeah, Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, here's a good Yeah, here's a good example of that. So when I was first debating Lapis, she thought I was going to make these talk like how to end racism. We were supposed to talk about that a while back, and basically what happened is she was like I wasn't sure what you were going to argue. I thought you were going to say, oh, crime in the inner cities and tough on crime arguments and things like that. And I think she did, or someone I've seen people call those type of talking points dog whistles. It's um like for instance, I think Bill Clinton had a tough on crime policy in the 1990s, if I'm not mistaken. And people are like, that was dog whistling to racists, and it's like, okay, when people say, when someone says they are tough on crime, 99.999% of the time, I can assume because I don't try to look for sometimes you don't have to go so nuanced into it. Like if you say that type of thing, I'm assuming you mean like actual crime, or you're not targeting people, the people of color, or whatever. Like, what's the percentage of whites committing the crime? Did you say? Yeah. Owen was once saying, me and Loudmouth were citing FBI statistics, and he was calling it white nationalist propaganda, and it was like, With people like that, you just have to mock them. Like debating them is fine, but it gets to a point where laughing is just totally justified. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, 13, somewhere between that number 13 and 17%. But yeah, it's like in general, if there's multiple ways to interpret something, like some people on the left and right will might choose to interpret it in the way they want to. Yeah. Careful, if you're disrespecting Google, then we're both getting strikes. We all know what's secretly on your mind, Humane. Yeah, something like that. I know that whites make up a majority of the population. Um, something like that. I don't even really care if whites make up a plurality of the population. I don't know. It's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. It was in well, it was also because it was yeah, the dog whistling thing and how people would interpret. I mean, it's hard to define what do you define as a dog whistle or whatever. Well, I mean, I mean, I thought I did see some comments from him where I think he was making. I can't remember the exact context. I'm gonna have to look this up, or it's gonna bother me since we're talking about this. So yeah, yeah, something like that. Let me see, because there's also other comments where it's like about homophobia and things like that. Um, I mean, currently, right now, anyway, Milo Yiannopoulos' name is forever fucked due to that whole shooting in Maryland, and people are gonna tie that to him till the day he dies, anyway. But I digress. Yeah, yeah, I was. Yeah, there was a shooting in Maryland, I think in June or July, and he has been blamed for it, considering he said the journalist should get shot or something. And yeah, like, yeah, hmm, yeah, yeah. Okay, I got some quotes from him right here. So, according to this, which I take with a grain of salt anyway, because it's Wikipedia. While Yiannopoulos is gay, he has stated that gay rights have made us dumber, arguing historically homosexuals have been massively overrepresented in the arts and intellectual pursuit. And here's I actually got into an argument with a Facebook friend of mine where I'm like, if you make up like if you make up like I don't know 40% of the population, you should get 40% of the representation. It's not a big deal, but whatever. Um, uh, intellectual pursuit power. Yeah, or it could get close to like they might get a yeah, but so but power and influence, but stay they no longer tend to marry women. They don't pass on their precious gay sperm in quotes. He also wrote that gays should get back in the closet. Oh my god. He has described being with gays getting back in the closet.
Or I mean, it was undoomed, or at least I thought it was undoomed. Oh yeah, about lesbians. Uh, I've not, I've not, I've not read that, so I don't know. The, are they like cis lesbians or trans lesbians? I don't know. Hmm. It puts it in. It puts those in quotes. And okay, I don't. I would. Yeah, yeah. Like here's the thing, right? I can make the assumption that Humane Mind is a 110% heterosexual male. He wouldn't find dudes attractive, so he's not gonna, he's not gonna get with dudes. I think that, okay, for this is just gonna be talking about cis people. So before anyone says we're transphobic, suck a dick or something. We're talking about cis people. Yeah, we're talking about we're talking about those sissies. Basically, what it is so lesbians getting pregnant. How the actual fuck is that even like if it's just self identification? Then I don't see. Uh, I guess I didn't realize they were, and I guess they didn't. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at the what the okay. So I'm looking at the article myself. A Minneapolis Star Tribune graphic visually just illustrates the disparity. Ever been pregnant or gotten someone pregnant? Ninth and 11th grades combined. So this somewhat makes some sense. Is people my age are absolute idiots on defining anything. So yeah, 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 uh, yeah. I'm looking at this article, and I'm already starting to see some interesting points I know are going to be called homophobic dog whistles. Drug and alcohol abuse before and during sex was rampant among LGBTQI youth, and I'm so sick of seeing the I in there. I think it's like that's so fucking stupid. So if you're born with it, you're now LGBT. If you're not born intersex, ugh. The acronym, just put the rest of the alphabet in there. They won't notice the difference. Yeah. Um, which video is that? Oh, so well, I think with homosexuality, it's. I would argue that, or at least I'd say that I wouldn't argue it would be a choice. It's more like they find someone of the same sex attractive, and they don't find someone of the like they don't find someone of the opposite sex attractive. Maybe it's not a choice in that way where they're like, I've seriously considered it. I've thought about this for a while, and people of the opposite sex, no, I don't find them attractive. I mean, I base it off of that. I wouldn't say born this way. I've always considered that to be kind of a weird point. To be honest, it never really sat well with me. I'm like, it yeah. I mean, even if even if I'm sorry, I just saw a Twitter chat, but yeah, the issue with I don't know. It's like it's an interesting topic, but the problem is that with whole free speech and what people consider quote unquote hate speech, it kind of makes these type of things hard to discuss, and it's weird. When people are like educate yourself on the issue, and it's like, but they like if you're trying to look at all possible areas or points, and they're calling that hate speech, and you shouldn't it's like you could just call something hate speech, and you shouldn't look at it, you shouldn't be able to listen to it, read it, whatnot. And yeah, I mean, if yeah, yeah, and claims without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. I don't know if that was him too, or if that was somebody else. It's all yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, like, I guess you could argue that in terms of like isn't it a tad subjective in the first place what hate speech is? Now I got an example of what you could call hate speech. Like imagine if I wrote a piece, or I wrote something, or I said something where I'm basically like if it was just a bunch of white supremacist bullshit, like if I was saying, oh, blacks should go back to Africa, or saying they all have AIDS, or saying they have lower IQs, or something like that. If I said something like that, or any race in general, maybe you could say that the intent of what I'm saying is to be hateful, but or if you're hmm, I wouldn't say I yeah. So hate speech, by its Google definition, what I found is hate speech is speech that attacks a person or group on the basis of attributes such as race, religion, ethnic origin, national origin, sex, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And as for hate crime is a prejudice motivated crime which occurs when a perpetrator targets a victim because of his or her membership of a certain social group or race. Others have viewed hate crimes as a mental illness or disability. So, membership of a certain social group. Do you consider political parties a social group? So like if Humane, if he shot a Democrat in the face because they are a Democrat, I'm gonna see if that actually if it, go ahead. Yeah. I don't know if by under the law, if under the like actual law, if the whole like if you murder someone because of their political affiliations, if that's considered a hate crime under the law, but a simple definition Defamation actually, I think, said that, or at least it could be interpreted that way. Um, I mean, I guess by like I thought she had a. I don't know if she was wearing anything that would make her like that would make people think, oh, she's anti-fascist, or if she was holding a sign that anti-fascists would hold or whatever. I think maybe that may have been why they might think that. Um, I thought she. I thought okay. So for the record, I had a stream with Occam's router about this months ago, talking about this, and he had a theory that it was an accident. I think he did argue that the dude hit Heather Heyer with the car, but he said that if it was intentional, then he chose a horrible vehicle to use in the crime. And I mean, I had to concede that yeah, he if he was doing this, yeah. Hmm. He also made a video on the issue itself, which we reviewed in that stream, which I just posted in the Hangout. But he pointed out the dude hit his brakes twice before, and it's like, okay, if he did that, why would you hit the brakes if your intent is to run those people down? You also saw the type of vehicle being used. It was mostly made out of plastic, or at least a fiberglass, and you could see when he's pulling away, the bumpers hanging on by a thread. Yeah, yeah, Yeah. Yeah, I actually a few months ago my aunt hit a deer and the deer didn't make it, but apparently somehow yeah, it was a Ford Escape, and if somehow it actually didn't the car it was almost totaled, but somehow she had I guess a good mechanic, and they were able to preserve the car. And I'm like, whoever how the yeah yeah you hope you don't have to fire a shot. Yeah. 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 Fibia, tibia, or something like that. Uh, I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, okay. So for some clarity, I do know that is true in GROTC, which I'm taking for the third year. They were telling us about how yeah, you might have to break some ribs if you're doing chest compressions or CPR. I love that course as they're teaching us about this, and they were explaining it, and they're like, yeah, you might have some broken ribs, but it's better than dying. And Yeah, I can confirm. I can confirm that's what they're teaching. Yeah. Yeah, we but yeah, like some of these are interesting considering like the ramifications they have on the future, on discourse and everything like that. Like I was on a stream and I mentioned this type of thing and oh, you sound like you're believing an agenda or a conspiracy theory, and it's like, oh, fuck off. Ugh, just ugh. But yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, there's like I, of course, I'm not either. I'm just saying, yeah. Um, I can imagine I can imagine someone making a fake movie, like if Tariq Nasheed's Twitter gets banned again or something. He just goes to Twitter and starts shooting up all the white people there. Uh-huh. Eh. Quick question out of curiosity: do you oppose the existence of the FCC? Because I was looking up the definition of slander and it pulled up some related things, and I saw obscenity, and I thought FCC. What's his at? What's his? W. Uh, could you type that, put that in the Hangout? Yeah, because I was like trying to find that, and you were just saying all this. Okay, let's see. Oh no, I've heard people use that for like trying to spell out a license plate, like cops doing it. But oh my, yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah, League of the South. Yeah, yeah, I'm looking at that right here. Okay, so it is a white supremacist, neo-Confederate white supremacist organization, headquartered in some shithole in Alabama I've never heard of. Okay, yeah. I'm also looking at this page right here. Okay, okay, that yeah, he is an ANCAP. I thought he was. I wasn't entirely sure. Yeah, but I mean, of course, people. Yeah, and I try to give some leeway, because it's like, what if Humane was a communist when he was a teenager? I mean, that would explain. I mean, usually, if you are a communist, usually you won't be by the time the acne goes away. But it's like, yeah, 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 and the first time you ever get hit with an actual bill is the first time when you start to actually be responsible. But or you have to pay for anything on your own. But yeah, that's why I try to be careful with when I criticize something that is rather old. So like if Humane was a part of a white supremacist organization, let's say 20 years prior, it's like I would ask, do you still believe those things today? If you still believe those things today, then you'd get the criticism. But if you were like, yeah, I don't agree with that anymore, I do regret being a part of that, then it's like, okay, you don't agree with that anymore, you don't hold those views, then the criticism is moot and pointless. Um, you know, Go ahead. Yeah. I mean, I would argue that the party of the GOP of today, I mean, you could argue is different from the GOP of the 1860s. I actually just looked up Aretha Franklin to see if she's gotten any awards. She got the Presidential Medal of Freedom under George W. Bush in 2005. So, such Republicans are racist, yet yet ah, I I thought there was something about how he. I thought there was something about where an authentic quote from Lincoln has attracted renewed attention, along with some commentary that oversimplifies his views on race. Um, it's from. I'll post a link to it in the. Even Voltaire, who I don't even know what his views on race are, and they're probably going to be questionable anyway. Even he's like, yeah, it's a historical fact that Abe Lincoln did have some white supremacist views. And there's other presidents who've had made some pretty racist comments, like LBJ. He would regularly call some black people the word nigger. There's a quote that's being disputed as to whether or not he actually said he would get them, and I quote, niggers to vote Democratic for 200 years. Um, that is currently being disputed, or at least was being disputed, uh, and various other quotes. And I think they found one from Eisenhower, one from Reagan, one from Bush, although H.W. Bush, things like that. Where it's like, I mean, to be fair, you got to look at the time they lived in. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's like, oh, let's just sweep it under the rug. It's a different time. I'd say that was wrong, but at the time, that was the norm. So, what about it? Okay. Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, PolitiFact. What about PolitiFact? So, what about PolitiFact? With Wikipedia, if you ever look at when you're reading text, you'll notice they'll highlight like to reference other articles or to link out external sources within the near the end of the sentence or the claim, or they'll say this needs this. They'll when they're having a sentence or a statement, they'll say some like in parentheses at the top. They'll say who, what, where, whatever, or they'll say this needs to further citation. So they'll let you know immediately, like take this with a grain of salt. Although they vote Republican predominantly today. Yeah, reminds me when Kanye West said George Bush doesn't care about black people. That was perhaps the dumbest thing he's said. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. But yeah. I also found out apparently he and his and Kim Kardashian are actually Republicans, which I never imagined she would be. But yeah. Because wasn't there an endorsement like I think they endorsed yeah, and even before then, here's the thing: like they endorsed Barry Goldwater in 1964 and Trump today, and probably other candidates. But in Trump's, I'm going to play devil's advocate. You cannot control who supports you and who doesn't. That is completely out of your hands. So imagine if a bunch of like you've heard of Valerie Solanas, right? Oh, she was a she wrote the I think it was the Male Scum Manifesto or something like that. Scum Manifesto, and yeah, imagine if she was alive today and she endorsed Hillary Clinton. Does that mean Hillary Clinton supports the Scum Manifesto? No, you know. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember Ham was talking about because he's not he's unaffiliated voter. He doesn't like Democrats or Republicans, and he said that like like the Democratic Party from the when the KKK was merging with the Democratic Party. is different today. And I mean, I get that point. And there's an election that it was born from it, but there's an election I actually remember reading because it's a historic one in the terms of the surprise upset, where you see the Democratic Party break up into three. It had a three-way split for the Dixie and the Progressive. Hmm. 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 We're gonna get called fascist apologists now. Hmm. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it was interesting when New Jersey, a safely Democratic state, albeit they were under a Republican governor in 2017, the most unpopular in the country when they declared Antifa a domestic terrorist group in that state. You didn't hear about that? They probably will call for it. It's funny. I looked at the Antifa platform, what they believe in: anti-racism, sexism, and homophobia, which I don't have a problem with. But the anarcho-communism was a fucking it was a meme. I'm like, anarchism, anarcho-communism, two things that just simply do not mix. It's like putting oil and water; they're going to clash. Yeah, they said to send to ANCAPs, and it's like, mm, as far as I'm concerned, I would argue not really. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that's my entire point against anarcho-communism. Is in order for it to be upheld, you would have to have the people that are supposedly the ANCOMs they'd have to be a de facto state and police force, and abide by the rules. Okay, so from what I remember, they argue that they're like, we're against all hierarchies as anarchists, and capitalism has hierarchies, and it's like, um yeah, like, yeah, I'm like, okay, we create hierarchies in our heads, like what we think is good and bad. I think that people that don't cause anyone harm, they're not bad people. As long as, like, if they're not causing any harm, I don't consider them bad people. If they like pineapple pizza, they're literally Hitler. I'm kidding. But if they are harming people, then they're at the bottom, and people that are good are at the top. Um, I don't have a racial hierarchy because I think that's stupid. I don't have a gender hierarchy because there's only two. Um, I don't have. Yeah, I don't have a. Yeah, yeah. Mm, mhm. Yeah. Um. 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 Yeah. I don't know why you just reminded me. When people are like, women are underrepresented in Congress and blah blah blah. It's like, I mean, there was a female governor in your state. I think her name was Christine Gregoire, or if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Washington State. Oh, 2005 to 13. Oh, yeah. Well, that's when she left office. But yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, there's some women who've led their states rather well. Like there's certain female governors who are very popular. Then there's some like Mary Fallon who are some of the most unpopular sitting governors in the United States. Susanna Martinez and Mary Fallon are, and I think the governor of Rhode Island. Some of them, I think you would probably cite as an example of some who are bad leaders. And then there's some male governors like Rick Snyder, I think, who is again one of the most unpopular in the United States. There are, I mean, yeah, there are exceptions, and I think that I'm not sure if I could if I could say like correlation equaling causation, but I would say that it would be nice to do a psychological study. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some like I mean, like you said earlier, there's exceptions to that. With of course, yeah. Like I think that when people are like when I would talk to people about the most recent election when Hillary was the nominee, they're like, "You don't think a woman could lead?" And it's like, "Oh no, I think a woman can lead." There's some women who are yeah, there's some women who've raised kids who've lived full lives who lived in a single parent household, whether it was just the mom and in some cases just the dad, um, where their parents are divorced. And I really get annoyed at kids who blame themselves for their parents' divorce. I find that to be rather annoying, to be honest. And it's like, yeah, I think a woman could lead. I do think that's the case. It just depends on the policies and the temperament and whatnot. I mean, I hold the same standard to Donald Trump, and his temperament is kind of out there. I wonder if the Republicans would have nominated Carly Fiorina if they would have if it was her versus Hillary Clinton, how that would have turned out. You could watch this back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just checking that if there's any chat. There's really not. But yeah, with the whole tying back to the whole slander thing, I think there needs to be a. I mean, I know might criticize us sometimes and say we get too hung up on definitions, but I do think sometimes it is important to look into what something might mean in order to so we know if we're using something right, and if we start to ignore definitions, then how exactly can we say if someone's using something incorrectly ever? About slander, libel, defamation, smear campaigns, or whatever. Hmm. Hmm. No, I'm not sure. Um, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, they also yeah. Yeah, there's also ways you could accuse the people who call her a coon. You could accuse them of being racist, can't you? No, it's not. Usually, when they say that, it's a way for them to try and I take it as a sign like they're trying to hide, like, oh, we'll shift the definition around to the point of absurdity. It's like verbal gerrymandering, where they'll twist it, they'll reshape, redefine it until just enough to where they could somehow escape it. Um, yeah, yeah, she could literally save everyone's lives on this planet. She could literally prevent world hunger by getting Melissa McCarthy, just or, wait, whatever her name is, or whoever is. Yeah, that was the name I. She could do that, but um, yeah. I mean, am I wrong? Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, that would be. I would love to make a skit like that. Uh, everyone. Yeah, and for all the money, we yeah, and for the money that those people have saved from not going to not being able to go to Burger King, they made themselves a little richer. So we all win in the end. And yep, and capitalism once and for all would end world hunger. So, so literally, the left will no longer be able to say shit at us about this. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm not. Of course, even in this state. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Um. What do you? Okay. So there was this particular argument from Cult of, if you've not seen his Twitter, Cult of Forbidden Word. Basically, I remember a few months ago, if I can remember the stream. Well, it was a statement he made about climate change, saying about this ocean floor, something about the ocean floor, and it's been damaged, like coral reefs or something like that. I'm not sure. Something about the ocean floor being permanently damaged, and I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna be upfront. I don't know enough to comment, but it's something where it's like, what would you say in response when people point out the alleged damage to the ocean floor? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is? Mm, Yeah. Well, if you do find them, like let's say after DM me those, I'll put them in the description of this stream, and you can do so for your streaming. But yeah, um, yeah, yeah. I tend to bookmark things I think I'll need later for something like whether it's a video or article or whatnot. What are the other topics that you wanted to discuss in these streams? I can't remember. We talked about money and politics. We've talked about free speech. I know you had a list or something about that, and uh, glad. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 I argue with people about that all the time, where it's like, you know, there's I think it was Australia where they almost never prosecute false rape accusations. The country I'm aware of at the least that takes it seriously, I thought it was the United Kingdom, where you could get a life sentence for making a false claim. I think a false claim like that, or at least 6 months for wasting police time. Which, I mean, that wastes everyone's time, but whatever. The United States, in I think in some cases it's not even a felony. Um, I'll I'll double check to make sure that's correct in a second, but yeah. Yeah, and then you get accused of being a rape apologist. Yeah, and yeah, and I found it always so irritating when dealing with people like this, where it's like I made those very points, and and they're like, would I don't know how to explain this, but I said, if someone tells me so and so had committed a rape, I would tell them to go to the hospital immediately so we can have the evidence to prove. And I'm like, I understand it's a hard thing. I've known many people who've been sexually assaulted, and I get that it is hard to talk about it. However, if what do you want us to do? If you just tell me that so and so committed this against you, what the hell do you want me to do about it? It's not like I can kill the guy. It's not like I can have him arrested. I mean, we can have him arrested if you go to the police and they run an investigation. Yeah, 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 yeah. They cracked the code on DNA in um the first time was in the late '80s, but it really got good in the '90s. Yeah, yeah. They, they there's one instance I can name you where they will hold that standard. And want to know who that person's name is? Bill Clinton. Yeah. Hawk is one of those people. Donald Trump's a rapist. Donald Trump's a rapist. You really believe, S-Man and Lapis, you really believe that Bill Clinton is a rapist conspiracy theories? It's like, uh, what's her name? I'm trying to remember her name. She appeared at a Trump the debate. Let me look up these names of the women who accused Bill Clinton of being a dickhead. Let's see, Bill Clinton. This is gonna bother me until I can figure out who. Because there's several women who. Catholic. Okay, so all right. Juanita Broderick, Paula Jones. Yeah, that he sexually harassed her. Um, yeah. Oh, you just reminded me. Um, there's actually there's a two-part skit about where Paula Jones is supposedly calling Bill Clinton. It's a skit where it's fucking funny because you just see Bill Clinton telling Al Gore to shut up, and there are days where Al Gore should probably just shut up. Um, Pretty funny though, honestly. But yeah, um, the utter hypocrisy where they will say Donald Trump is a rapist, yet they will defend Bill Clinton. To me, that just, I mean, there's some, yeah, there's some. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you've watched the Clinton Chronicles. I did. Very interesting to see. Yeah, yeah. Hang on a second. I will be right back. Bless you. Yeah. 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 Yeah, like yeah, honestly, I know I sound like I know I sound like like an extremist when I've said this before. I find it extremely difficult to sympathize with those who are like, we shouldn't execute rapists. It's like, no, no, I think that executing them is like, in theory. I mean, of course, we have to prove that they actually are that, but in theory, I have little sympathy against the idea of executing them. Or like if you caught somebody, like let's say you have a little kid, right, and you caught someone in the act of molesting them and you beat them to death. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. There was a case in Texas, 23. I don't even think they didn't even charge. What happened was 23. Yeah, 23-year old man has a 4-year-old daughter. Finds this 50-year-old dude in the act of molesting her when he heard her scream. So he just beat the dude to death with his fists. Everyone was on his side, and the police didn't even charge him. And honestly, or I don't even think a judge would convict that guy. Um, yeah, um, yeah, um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always seen it like, when people are like, we don't rape rapists, we don't kidnap kidnappers, but we kill killers, and it's like, I don't think anyone would voluntarily force themselves on a rapist. Also, I think death. I mean, I think death is a mercy killing rather than committing a sexual assault. I think they're both wrong, but I think that, I mean, go ahead. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. There was, yeah, because or, or in prison, like you once said on your debate with Ham, that they get them to do the bitch pose. Oh fuck, that was funny. I'm not gonna lie, just hearing you say it like that. They do the bitch pose. You said that so nonchalantly. But yeah, in total, it's like, yeah, I think there was a case in my state or someone else's or another state where dude was in prison not even a day and he was murdered, and it turns out I think he was some guy in his 70s convicted of that. And I'm like, fucking, I think either, yeah, and the dude who killed him was like 19, and I'm like, well, you did throw your life away because of that, but I honestly can't blame you. Uh, yeah, in my state, how they have, yeah, in my state, it's actually the way they do parole here is very strange. Like what happens is, so I'll take if there's a famous case of a bomber in my home state. I would consider him a domestic terrorist. Killed two people, almost killed himself. They had him up for parole, a parole hearing, and the parole board actually said that he would spend the rest of his life in prison. This is a common thing in my state where they might say, we refuse to hear your case, and basically the person could spend the rest of their life in prison, even though they weren't sentenced to life without parole. They could actually refuse to hear your case, and they could say, and it's been upheld in federal courts. I don't know what your exact opinion of that type of thing is, but it's been, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, overall, it's like in the time we've been speaking, which we've covered a number of interesting topics like criminal justice. It sounds like criminal justice reform needs to be had. I mean, I think if unless the person chooses otherwise, I think they are entitled to a jury trial if it's going to go to trial. Um, Interesting things with agriculture, environment. Yeah, yeah. Among other issues where it's like, it'd be kind of funny. What if there was we held a mock presidential debate? Like it's a three-way debate. We get I could play the Democrat, or we could get Blue to play the Democrat. I guess you could play the Republican, and either Humane Mind for President 2020. So I guess you could. I will be shocked. Like if Coke. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember you were stating a lot of things you would do if you were president and you had to be a minarchist, and I'm like, a lot of it I could agree with, considering it's like maybe that's a way we could actually not make the United States look like a threat to world peace. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Interventionist Democrats are just like they make no sense to me. It's almost as if they want a recession. Like especially the like Hawk, big welfare state, huge military. You're going to get a recession. It's like Reaganomics. If you cut taxes, raise defense spending, and he wanted to balance the budget. Ugh. I mean, Yeah. Time and sleep is I'd argue. Um, yeah, yeah, because those things require a lot of your time. So unless you could somehow cut out sleep, which I think you would, unless you have fatal familial insomnia, you're most likely not going to survive that. And usually you'd only live for 15 months. So yeah, it's a very dangerous thing. If you have it, you're pretty much fucked. Really? Oh man. Damn. Yeah, I mean that'd be weird. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, not healthy in that area. I don't buy it. I mean, uh, who did you support in the Republican primaries? Out of curiosity. Okay. Yeah, I met a lot of never Trump Republicans and conservatives. Um, it was rather shocking how competitive my state got. Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest, I think maybe in January, it's been 2 years since he's been president. That'd be interesting, like holding a how's Trump's presidency going thus far, since we'd be literally midway through his term after the midterms. Yeah, he he also did the same for Rick Perry of Texas. Um, Yeah, and he did for a while for Chris Christie until that position was abolished, actually. Which yeah, Chris Christie. Chris Christie couldn't run to the donut shop, let alone the state of New Jersey. I mean, seriously, like the dude had an approval rating of I think less than 15%, and I'm like, that's lower than even W. And to be fair, that's a whole country versus a single state. But um, if you forced me to vote in the Republican primaries, I would have probably voted if Rand Paul would have stayed. I would have gone for Rand Paul. I didn't entirely mind Jeb Bush, but he just seemed so unappealing. I'm like, I'm listening to him, and he just sounded like such a rusty campaigner. Yeah, yeah, if you could go back to the 2008 election, who would you have voted for if it was John McCain versus Barack Obama? Bob Barr, he ran in 20 and he ran three times, 88, 2008, 2012. Yeah. 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 I found a meme that stated it perfectly when he ran as a libertarian in 1988. It's perfect. Against the two-party system. Let me go to your stream. Let's see, where is it? Let me see if I got it right here. Let me see. Um, let's see what HUMANE is looking at. Well, I'm gonna go to his stream and see. I'm gonna go to your stream and
to the first 2012 debate for the presidency of the United States of America.
no, all right. So I've turned my audio up to 100%, which the type of earphones I have let me do that anyway. Oh, I'm gonna hang on a second. Let me see that. Okay, now I can hear it. I can hear it now. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is hilarious. I remember the 2012 election. That was such a Oh man, I'm gonna have to watch that later. That's hilarious. Um, there, um, there was a third party meme where it was like a qualified third party candidate won't can't win because I won't vote for a qualified third party candidate because a third party candidate won't win because I won't vote for one. It was a cycle where you just read it over and you're like, you get the point, and it's like circular logic. And Hawk, of course, was like, I showed it to him, and he's like dismissing it. And I'm like, you are such a status cuck. Like, it was so funny. Yeah, you've only voted in like a few elections, right? You voted for George W. Bush in 2004. You abstained in 2008. You voted for Gary. You voted for Gary Johnson in 2012 and Trump in 2016. If you would have been, if you could go back to when you voted for George W. Bush, would you have voted against him in hindsight? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, how did you feel when his presidency started to take an even bigger dive into the dumpster fire that it became? John Kerry was running against him in 2004. Mhm. Yeah. Anarcho-capitalism. Mhm. Yeah. Hmm. I do I do have a, yeah, yeah, but yeah, I actually have a question relating to that a little bit. What do you think of those who identify as spiritual with their religious beliefs? Just all across, just spiritual. What do you think of that in general? Is that too vague or something? Because I mean, it yeah, because like yeah, yeah, because yeah, um, mhm. Yeah, that makes no sense to be honest. And um, so yeah, um, I think to sum it up on the whole slander front, I would tell people, I'd encourage them is to compare how they define it to like a dictionary's definition, and to see if there's any like nuances. The definition of feminism. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not a quality. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard about him. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I hold the same standard with what the GOP needs to do right now. Like like you look at how the Christian right has I think has had some impact on the Republican Party and among things like that. I hold the same standard with a lot of things where it's like, um, when you look at how like you look at certain political parties and sometimes it's completely taken over and they start to abandon their the principles. Like if you change your mind, that's one thing, but at least change the label. Then it looks, just to be more consistent. Yeah, yeah. You, yeah, like I think that I would love to see, the Justice Democrats and all these progressives and whatever. I think they should form their own party to kind of subtract votes from the Democrats. I would love that. You have all these left wing parties form as one, all these progressives and dissatisfied liberals leave. So then you got moderates and conservative Democrats. I think there'd be a fatal split. You know, either the left parties, or at least okay, so if because there's conservative Democrats like Joe Manchin, if they were the only thing holding up the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party would most likely just collapse, especially when Maxine Waters. Andrew Jackson would roll in his grave. But yeah, I think that if the same would be great if the Republican Party would split the same way. So like liberal and moderate Republicans, like like Rockefeller type Republicans, if they went to the Libertarian Party or a third party, or if they made their own, then I think you would ultimately see a dissolution of the two party system. Or if every right wing third party and every left wing third party they stopped voting for the two parties and they formed their own or merged together, maybe they could overthrow the two party system. Oh damn. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe next week's topic, if could be like how to end the two party system. I think that'll be a fascinating take. But yeah, yeah. I don't know what else we got. Yeah. 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 Oh, no, you would most likely get a majority. You look at how the turnout rates are abysmal. Yeah. And everyone who doesn't vote technically voted ANCAP. ANCAP gets all 538 electoral votes. Oh my god, I saw that too. I was dying. I mean, oh my god, I was dying just seeing. I mean, I felt bad for Aiden Paladin. Why? Uh, It'd be funny if you did a like an April Fool's stream. If that was an April Fool's stream, it'd be hilarious. Or for April Fool's. Yeah. 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 All right. So that'll be the end of this. What? All right. Yeah. Rip. I'm sorry. Yeah. Bless you. Yeah. Imagine if you shared the link to like I don't know 4chan or something, and they're on that. They're like imagine if like 10,000 4chan trolls were to be on your site. Yeah. 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 Sure. Mm. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, economics can be fun. Yeah. So, okay, so yeah. Yeah. All right. So, thanks for joining Humane. Yeah. So, thank you for joining Humane, and thanks to anyone who watched during this time, which probably no one did, but nonetheless, to anyone who might in the future or whoever might even see this, thanks. And I'll see y'all next time. And as always, protectionism. Actually, you tell the joke, Humane. I forgot the joke. It's about protectionism. Yeah. Damn. Less enjoyable. Yeah. So that'll be the end. And until next time, guys, stay classy. I don't know how to end these. Yeah, that would be funny. All right, see you guys. Yeah. No, no worries. I mean, I'd rather